All right, everybody. Let's see what happened with this BOP stuff for Le Mans because we all know that. Look, for the WEC races, they base the BOP off of the results from the previous race, right? So they look at torque sensors and all of that stuff and they compare it with what you did or how the car performed from its previous race. Okay, they line all that stuff up. They got all this data and all these computers and whatnot that are monitoring the performance of the cars. They're looking at the tire wear. They're looking at the torque sensors. They're looking at the top speed. They're looking at all of that stuff, and then they base the BLP off of you know that to determine what they're going to give each car for the next round of the WEC. So, but for Le Mans, they did something totally different where they just based it off of simulation data and wind tunnel testing. And so they came up with what they think the car should be able to do during the race. And
Uh,
according to them, they know which car is really the fastest, and nobody else knows which car is the fastest. I think they know which cars are fastest, but I feel like they don't really know. Because look at this. We know that at Spa, Peugeot had a quick car. They they were on the second row of qualifying, and they did really good in the race. But there's a catch to that because they were running at the minimum weight, which is 1,030 kilograms, and the maximum power output is 520 kilowatts. That's what they were running at Spa. But at Le Sarf, as you can see, this is the BOP table. If everyone look at it, at Spa they were running a minimum weight of 1,039 kilograms, and they had the least amount of horsepower below 250 kilometers per hour. They had the least amount of power out of all the cars in this class, 507 kilowatts, and then power gain after 250 kilometers per hour was a minus 1.2%. And
yeah,
then their stint energy wasn't all that either. And so I do not think that they got the BOP correct at all.
because look
Not
at
for Le
Ferrari.
Mans. Look at
Ferrari
Ferrari.
is one of the lightest, one of the lightest cars out there. Because a lot of these cars, I mean, the weight is very marginal between all these guys. But we got Ferrari coming in at minimum dry weight at 1,042 with 515 uh, for power below. They look like they've got probably one of the most advantageous BOPs here for them for Ferrari, but Peugeot just got absolutely whacked with something
Yeah.
that it made no sense because this car hasn't been performing very well. They have not been placing very well. The only time they placed very decent was Spa, and that was the race right before prior. And now all of a sudden, come Le Mans time, these guys they give them effectively no chance with a BOP like that.
Yeah. And
So
Spa's supposed to be dress rehearsal for Le Mans. And so
right, so I
eh,
don't know. This one doesn't.
what
This one
happened?
doesn't make any sense in the terms of, I mean, did Peugeot piss somebody off at the FIA, the ACO? Did they? Was there some team owner that wanted the car to lose poorly so they could sell it off for some sort of amount? We don't know what happened,
I
but
don't know either. I get what their method was, but it's just why would you choose that method knowing the results from its last race? You know
right,
that Peugeot only was doing good when they were running at minimum weight, maximum power. They did
correct,
not score pole position in their last race. They got second, third, and fourth in qualifying, but they did not. No, they got second and third in qualifying. Sorry, but they did not, by any means, um, score pole position. Okay, Ferrari still scored pole position,
right,
and they Peugeot only achieved that because they were running at minimum weight, maximum horsepower. So they still have to figure that car out some. Why in the world would you handicap them so much? They got the least amount of power in the entire field.
they got. I mean, yeah,
Why would
more.
you do that? to Peugeot and
Aston Martin's got. I mean, it makes sense. Aston Martin has the most significant because they're a newer car. But even look at Toyota. Toyota's not a newer car, and they got 520 max power below 250 kilometers per hour. So
yeah,
what does that mean? What is that saying?
and their stint energy is the, the stint energy is the third highest for Toyota. Now
Right,
they're running at 1,053 kilograms,
right. They
but
are the heaviest
I
car in
would
the field.
I'd rather have more horsepower, but
Right,
they're running at 1,053 kilograms, but
because that
they
power
still
to weight
running at the
ratio
maximum power.
isn't as drastic if you look at it in an objective way. A car weighing that much weight at 1,053 kilograms with that much power and that much stint energy, or that amount of power and that much energy, the power to weight ratio is going to probably play out fairly well in Toyota's favor because they know the car is going to be fairly heavier, so they understand that. But they've got maximum stint energy at 914, and then they've
Yeah,
got their max power at 520. So I think they did what they were doing for that car. I think this is weird from the ACO and FIA. I think some is up, and I know these teams can't talk about these BOP and they can get fined for it. But I think some is off with this BOP significantly. That again, maybe their data just what this is what their data told them. But I don't agree with these values for Peugeot. And I'll say this. I mean, as much as I wanted Ferrari to win, Ferrari came out there with one of the most advantageous BOPs, and they handled business as expected. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this one, but you know, Peugeot just it's one of those things that you look at their legacy, you look at their car, is that Peugeot is no slouch of a team. They know how to
yeah.
build a race car. They
They know how
know
to
how to
build
go
some really fast cars.
right. But this is they. I think this car needs to be, in my opinion, I think it needs to be scrapped. I think they need to start over. I hate to say
Yeah,
it.
hey, I'm gonna be objective and say the same thing. Like, if by now, I would say by round 5 or 6, they should not need to be running at minimum weight, maximum horsepower anymore. They should know how to get that car working by now anyway,
Yeah.
because they've been in this. They were the second hypercar manufacturer under the hypercar rules to compete. Toyota was the first. Peugeot was actually second with the wingless concept. What happened with them was that the car was being developed under regulations where having the same tire size on all four wheels was advantageous for them, and they could produce the same drag to downforce ratio without using a rear wing, and they wanted to do something different.
Right.
And they felt like that car, that kind of concept, would perform very well at Le Mans and giving it the top speed that they need. And it ended up not really working out for them. They switched the tire size for the rear tires, and just like Toyota did, Toyota used also Evo Joker for switching their tire size because they actually did the same thing at first with the GRO10, where they had all four tires were like what 34 centimeters or no 31 or 29 centimeters, and the rear tires were like when they switched tire sizes for the rear wheels, they went to what 34 centimeters, and that was an Evo choker for them, and they
Yeah.
gained an advantage in speed for that. But they've been under this since 2021, and Peugeot's been in it since 2022, and they haven't produced a car that has been competitive, at least not without some kind of help from the BOP. And the only time they really have been competitive was at Spa.
Yeah.
So they need to think about how much more can they really get from the car, and is it worth it to start from the ground up?
Okay. So what do you
Yeah.
think? So what do you think is going on with Cadillac and their lack of performance? They're not
Well,
placing well. I mean, they're not placing well, but what we expect them to place, which is
yeah,
first or second.
they got pole position. They got the second row last year,
Right.
and neither one of them turned into a race win. Okay, fine. Yeah, Not every car that scores pole position is always the car that wins. We know that. But I actually thought something happened to their car because I walked away from the race for a while and I noticed that they were dropping down the field quickly. And they didn't, nothing was wrong with the car. It was just the other car started passing it on the track.
Yeah.
And they just could not get for one thing, I'll say this. Um, I'm not sure where to begin with Cadillac, but the car is not good on tires. And
Mm-hmm.
I never felt like it was good on tires, even not even in IMSA. It seemed like to me when they really try to stretch the tires, the car slows down and the competition starts to catch up with it during a race, just off
Mm-hmm.
of pure pace. And unless there's a lot of rubber that's been smeared over the course of the circuit, on the surface of the circuit, they're
Yeah.
not really getting the grip levels that they need to produce a sustainable lap time over a long period of time. And um, you saw that during the race that, okay, yeah, they had the fastest lap during the race. Cadillac for a while, they had the fastest lap. It was Sebastian Bourdais that put down the fastest lap of the race, and then it was Earl Bamber that put down the fastest lap of the race for that car. But that they weren't able to sustain that pace for very long. It was only when they were close to, the end of their stint, when they were close to running out of fuel, and when they had clear air and there's a lot of rubber on the surface of the track. And so their tires wear is something that I don't know what they can really do about that. I don't know if you can really fix tire wear because what you got is what you got. One
Right.
thing I noticed about BOP is they allow the Cadillacs to run lighter
Yeah.
because they know that that car struggles with tire wear, and what that does is it tries to alleviate some of the tire wear when you're running a lighter car.
Yeah.
So they've always done that with Cadillac ever since 2023. They had the car running at a lower weight than Acura in the IMSA series, and so since it was running at such a lower weight, they had it at a lower horsepower, which actually is a handicap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Acura was tough to beat um, in 2023, even though Cadillac won a championship. Um, and I noticed, but they've been doing that, and I've always wondered this. Okay, they allowed the Cadillac to run at 1,037 kilograms and 517 kilowatts, which is actually, honestly, a favor to them because uh, the car, a lighter weight is going to allow the tires to last longer. But they
Yeah.
still had issues with tire wear. The FIA and ACO know this. They've recognized that, and they said, okay, let's let it run at a lighter weight, so it'll be more even with its competition when it comes to tire wear. And so that's what they did. So it's running at 1,037 kilograms. I didn't expect them to be running at 517 kilowatts. I thought they were going to be running at like 513 or something like that. I didn't expect them to run at 517. I thought they were going to be running at like 512 or something, maybe 510. Um, but they were running at 517. And so they scored pole position. And during the straights, you noticed that the other cars were faster and they was passing on the straights. It was like a sitting duck. And that caught up with them during the race. And this is something that Sebastian Bourdais, one of their drivers, had brought up. And that he said that, look, I would not read too much into this qualifying result because some of the other teams, for one thing, they're sandbagging and they're not really showing their true hand. You know, and so he expressed his concern, and he said that it'll be. He basically said his prediction for Cadillac's result was quite accurate. He said that it'd be great for us to get in the top five, and that's exactly what they got. They
Yeah.
got in the top five. They got what, fourth place? That's exactly what they
They
got.
got
So
fifth, I think, actually. Yeah, fifth.
so it's amazing how he was able to predict that outcome of that accurately, and he did say, yeah, our competitors are not really showing their true hand. But yeah, I think that uh, they need to reevaluate how they're doing BOP for Le Mans next year
Okay.
because Ferrari, they shouldn't have been that light at 1,041 kilograms. They shouldn't have been that light. They were doing 226 miles per hour on the straights. They shouldn't. They could have handled more weight. Have them run at 1,051 kilograms. Why is Toyota running at 1,053? You
Yeah.
know. So I just think they got the BOP wrong. I don't know if it would have changed the result or not, but I think they got it wrong. Porsche is running at 511 kilowatts and 1,041 kilograms, and that that's a handicap because the Ferrari is running at a higher horsepower rating than the Porsche.
Yeah.
So you know,
It's
so
interesting.
it's interesting.
Interesting.
But anyway, in the next video, we'll talk about a little bit more about this issue with Cadillac and what I think they need to do.
All day.